All right, let's see if this is on. It should be. President Trump just took a trip around Asia and he stopped here in Japan. Many things unfolded during this trip. One is he mentioned something called comfort women in regard to Japan and Korea. This is very important. It's an incredibly important topic. And I've written 3 books about it. So to say that I'm a subject matter expert would be accurate.
This is right, but the whole issue of the women, comfort women, very specifically, we talked, and that was a very big problem for Korea, not for Japan. Japan wanted to go, they want to get on, but Korea was very stuck on that. You understand? So I don't know. Perhaps you'd like to answer. It's a good question.
Traveled to quite a few countries studying it. These books are all roughly 10 years old. They're only in Japanese, they're not in English. That's a comfort woman right there. So that's an actual comfort woman statue. Somehow the video got cut, so I'll pick up where I left off. I'll try anyway. That's why there's a comfort women statue in Glendale, California. There's a lot of Armenians that live there. We talked with the mayor there at one point. I've been to Glendale quite a few times researching this, and I've been to Armenia as well. Masako and I went to Armenia. Masako and I also went to Glendale. Al and I've been to Glendale quite a few times researching this, and there was really a massacre. There's no question about it with the Armenians. This book is from 1896, right? I've got quite a bit, and again, Masako and I, we went to Yerevan, Armenia. We went to the Holocaust, or basically Holocaust Museum there as well, the Armenian Holocaust. So this is an 1896 book, and it says, to the memory of the Christians massacred in Armenia by the sword of Muhammad, this work is dedicated by the publishers. And so anyway, this gets complex. You'll hear the Turks have a side and Armenians have a side, and then there's a higher side as well. Not to go into that, information war is that genocide was quite real, but in any case, on a more point that matters to us at the moment is the reason that the Comfort Women statue is in Glendale is because that's a nice place for the information war, the Chinese information warriors, to package this up. They like to package they like to basically put their new information war and like a lot of people running this fraud also like to put their this extortion racket. They like to piggyback. They like to piggyback together, right? And then at some point, people that have a very successful racket going on, they like to not have people piggyback because it detracts from their professional victimhood, which is big money and political clout, right? And so remember, professional victims are always predators. They become predators if they weren't before. Once they're taught to be a professional victim, they become a predator because it's not non sequitur, it's sequitur. If you are a professional victim, you're a predator. And there are entire cultures that are professional victims. There are other cultures that don't play professional victim. One of those is Japanese. Another is English. English don't tend to play professional victim for whatever reason. And Scots Irish, my culture, we don't play professional victim. It's just not part of the thing. In fact, we find it kind of abhorrent. And maybe that's one of the reasons. I mean, again, you can see yourself and you can see your opposite. And the Japanese don't play. Look, we did, for the people who've really studied Japanese history and really realize what happened and how the United States got here and how those nuclear weapons were detonated and that sort of thing. If there's anybody that can play professional victim, it's Japanese. Now, of course, many Americans will go nutters for my saying that because we grew up in the architecture of a very mature information war. And most Americans don't realize that. Actually, I'll be right back. Sorry, I had to go to a different part of the library to pick up this book, War Plan Orange. Most Americans probably don't realize that the United States had planned in detail to conquer Japan for generations. And I don't mean a war plan like we have a plan to go to war with everybody, because, we do. We have a plan to go to war with basically space aliens and everything else, which is probably not a bad idea. But there are other war plans, which are actual attack plans, like we plan to conquer you, right? Like with the Indians and that sort of thing. And some of these take generations to do. Some take literally centuries. People that think in terms of 5-year plans, they're children. We're talking about people who plan in centuries. We're talking about people who go way over the horizon planning. This was War Plan Orange, the U.S. strategy to defeat Japan from 1897 to 1945. But that's just an arbitrary cutoff. The plan went long before that. You should see, we got many of the original maps right here of our U.S. Navy mapping Japan in detail in 1853 and 54 and actually before that. And anyway, that was an actual plan to actually defeat Japan. What I'm getting to with this is that if there's anybody who has, so Pearl Harbor was a clear setup. Read the book Day of Deceit. And you'll just study. If many people know what I'm talking about, most will not. But when you realize what actually happened, that Pearl Harbor was a complete setup. It was an utter setup. We pushed Japan into war. Japan did not want to go to war, but our oligarchical structures wanted to defeat Japan. They didn't want peace with Japan. They wanted Japan defeated. And so there was not going to be, just like there's not going to be peace in Gaza between the Israelis and the Palestinians. It's not happening because the Zionists are there to take Gaza. There's not going to be peace with Iran. I got a report today, I don't know if it's true or not, but Iranian drones flying over Trinidad and Tobago or whatever. Is it true or not? I don't know. We're in environments where the major players all lie. Maybe they are Iranian drones. I don't know. But I wouldn't doubt that we would see attacks by drones, and that they're obviously from Iran type drones, but they're not. They're from, I don't know, Israel or Virginia. It could, so this sort of stuff happens constantly. It's not rare. It is false flags, green flag attacks, staked goat attacks. All these sorts of tactics are not rare at all. They are extremely common, and they happen big and small all the time, like bugs on the windshield going through the swamp. And so, but Japan doesn't play victim. They just don't do that. Korea does play victim. The Chinese will play victim. The English don't play victim. I'm Scots-Irish. Our culture is not one of playing victim. It's just there are some cultures that do and some cultures that don't. And I don't know why, but some are absolutely professional at it. Gypsies, for instance. I got quite a number of books here on gypsies. Yeah, I've dealt with so many gypsies around the world, and a lot of the things I was taught when I was young turned out to be true. Or these thugies. You ever heard of thugies? Thugs. The word thug came from thugies. These books here are about hunting down thugies and killing them. That's what the British were doing. They had an entire police force and army. I got a whole stack of books on thugies because they still exist in India. They clearly still exist. But that's where the word thug came from. It was, the thugies and the dacoits were out doing all kinds of mayhem, murdering all kinds of people. But every time somebody comes after them, we're the victim. But, they were called the stranglers. They were called the deceivers, that sort of thing. And they were absolutely brutal. But they would always play victim when you come after them. And so finally the British was like, that's enough. And they went after them hardcore. And they were hanging them off the, trees on the sides of the road and that sort of thing. They still clearly exist, by the way. But there are entire cultures that are like that. Now, what's going on with this information war with the comfort women? Yeah, okay, this is still running. The comfort women is being used to divide the United States, Japan, and Korea so that, for instance, when China wants to do things like control the Strait of Malacca or to take Taiwan, that we don't have a unified front, that Japan and Korea are not even sharing intelligence. They haven't, they're not exercising together militarily, which they need to be doing. Their navies need to be training with each other constantly. They need to be sharing intelligence constantly. Their air forces need to be training together. Their ground forces, they need to make sure their radios work together, all that stuff. But the information war of the comfort women has actually successfully split off Korea from Japan. And huge money's at stake. So in addition to the strategic effect of this, all along the way, the players who are squeezing Japan for this are making huge money. So it's really, it's twisted. I mean, the people that run these sorts of operations, United States being one of them, we're not running this one. This is China that's running it, and they've got the Korean idiots. Koreans aren't idiots, but there are idiots in Korea that are doing it. And there are idiots in America doing it as well, and in Japan. Actually, this whole information war on the comfort women started with a Japanese communist. Yoshida Seiji was his name, Seiji Yoshida, right? And so he was actually a communist. That was his name. He wrote a book called, may have been called My War Crimes. And he was talking about, kidnapping those women on Jeju Island from the bean factory. And anyway, it turned out it was a lie. He admitted to it. And his son hated him. I mean, it's a long story. But, I've talked about this 4 quadrants of people before, which I found in this book, and then I modified it slightly. The basic laws of human stupidity. There are, quadrant 1 is the good and wise people. They want to benefit themselves. You see, I'm running on a shoestring. I literally made this out of cardboard, out of a book that came in. So quadrant 1 are the good people who wish to benefit themselves while benefiting others. Preferably, they're going to benefit others and themselves a great deal. That is the wise and the smart and the good people. That's the quadrant I want to be in. I want to benefit while I help others, because that is the ultimate best, is to everybody benefits. That's the smart people. They want to stay in quadrant 1. Sometimes I drift into quadrant 2, which is the simple quadrant. It's the helpless people who help others and then don't help themselves. So I'm trying to stay out of that and stay only in this one, because that's good people, but they're not very smart. And so you need to help yourself. Sometimes, of course, you'll just be doing things strictly to help others, obviously. But like if there's a car accident, I'm not going to ask for payment to pull somebody out of the car, which I've done quite a few times. And then there's the quadrant 3. Those are the thugs, like the Thugies, right? They help themselves, but they don't help others. Banksters. That's the ones who, they might be smart. I mean, this is the smart category. This is above this line, you help others. Below this line, you hurt others. And on this side of the line, on this axis, you are smart. I mean, you're smart enough, or at least clever, to get things done. And on this one, you're simple or stupid. And on this one, quadrant 4, you hurt yourself and you hurt others. That's the stupid quadrant, according to the author, Carlo Cipolla. What an excellent tiny book. I've brought it up like 10 times, this book, like Rape of the Mind. It's a book worth reading. But this is the book. This is so below this line, this is like the professional victim line for sure. All the professional victims are below this line. All professional victims are below. I call it the Z line because the Zionists are the best at this. Chinese are pretty good at it too, though. Being professional victims and bringing it to an industrial scale, as this Jewish author so kindly points out in the Holocaust industry, and calling this what it is, an outright extortion racket, he calls it. And that's what it is. But those people ultimately, in the short term, they may help themselves and they may make a fortune, but they hurt themselves in the long term, or they hurt their family trees. And at the end, there will be a price for it. In the end, there will be a price, and it may be paid much, much later, but it's going to be a price, and it's going to be a big one. And then there's the stupid people who hurt themselves and help others, right? And so a lot of these people, Uh, this author, he's always pointing out that that class is the most dangerous. The most dangerous is this one, because these guys aren't usually out actually just to hurt you, although sometimes some take fascination with it. Quadrant 3, the thugs, they don't necessarily, I mean, they'll help you too. They might help you, they might hurt you, but ultimately, all they want to do is enrich themselves. And quadrant 1, they want to do well as well, but they won't hurt you to do it. They won't cross below the Z line, but others just live below the Z line. And that's what we're getting with the people running the comfort women and the rape of Nanjing. They're all below the Z line. They're either stupid, and they, for instance, the Koreans who are doing this, in short term, they may benefit. That would be in this category. But in the long term, this is highly detrimental to Korea, highly detrimental. And I warned Koreans when I was there. I spent a lot of time in Korea researching this. In fact, I talked with the lady in her office that was running the Comfort Women information war in Korea. And she's dead now. She committed suicide later, but she's straight up communist. And she showed me the map. She showed me like where they're putting in the new Comfort Women statues, the operations they're doing. And it was pretty amazing. I mean, she just opened the door to me because I'm American. And I think most Americans just immediately believe them and believe what they say. And by the way, whenever you say, this didn't happen, they'll say, well, how do you know? You're not Asian. I'm like, okay, I'm not Asian, huh? And they'll say, how do you know? You don't speak Asian. I'm like, okay. Speak Asian? What language is Asian? Is that like foreign? You don't speak foreign? It's like, okay. They'll say, you don't speak Korean. I'm like, okay. So you're Korean. You're Korean. But you're saying that this happened in Thailand. Well, I've been all over Thailand asking, and it's bullshit. It didn't happen, right? I've been all over Thailand. I talked with the prime minister. I talked with so many people in Thailand about this out in many villages. Al Johnson, we were running around. It just didn't happen. I did the same in the Philippines, and I was out in Myanmar and out in Burma, out in the jungle. The fact is, it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. But they'll say, well, you don't speak, and I'm like, okay, so you speak, say, Korean, but you're saying that it's beyond my ability to know. And I'll say, then you must speak Tagalog because you said this happened in the Philippines too, right? Do you speak Tagalog? No. Do you speak Bahasa? No. Do you speak Mandarin? No. Do you speak Cantonese? No. Do you speak Thai? Negative. Do you speak Japanese? Nope. Just like, in other words, you don't speak Burmese. You don't speak Hmong. You don't speak any of these languages, but it's a disqualifier that I don't speak Korean. Therefore, I can't understand that it is a overt lie. I don't speak Hebrew either, right? And this is a huge information game, right? It's a massive information game. And actually, many of the people that were originally running it, their native language was German. And so, that's right. And they weren't necessarily German. They were German Jews, right? Well, that was German, actually, because many of them were actually Nazis, and they were in the actual Nazi army. And anyway, it gets complicated and uncomfortable. Same with the comfort women issue. When you really look at this issue deeply, and Koreans will say, well, Japan invaded here. I'm like, oh, so you're saying Japan invaded Korea. Where? Like, where? Because I want to go see the monuments on the beach because there weren't airplanes back then. Where did they invade? Who were the generals and admirals involved? Nobody knows because it's bullshit. It didn't happen. Japan annexed Korea. Koreans were Japanese citizens. They were Japanese generals in the Japanese army. They were elected officials. They were armed policemen. They served in the military. Many of them tried to get in the military, and the Japanese wouldn't even let them in. They wouldn't even let them in. They wouldn't let them in the Navy either. So, I mean, it wasn't the way it's made out. That's professional victimhood. And the professional victimhood is taught to people, and it keeps them down. Anybody who's a professional victim is keeping themselves down, and they don't respect themselves. The people who do these operations, they don't respect themselves. They live in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. They live in thuggy quadrant and stupid quadrant. That's where they live. The people who run these, they can make billions of dollars for now, but in the long run, it's very detrimental. They don't respect themselves that they can actually make a good living and actually gain significant influence by actually being good, by actually just staying in quadrant one. If you're that smart, if you're really super smart, you can stay in quadrant one. That's where the super smart people are. The good people, the really good people are in quadrant one. That's where they try to stay, helping themselves and helping others. But the really bad ones will stay in quadrant three and quadrant four, where they're hurting themselves and hurting others. And so that's what's going on. A lot of the people that are dragged into this comfort women issue are in quadrant three and quadrant four. They are the ones that President Trump addressed, and Trump knows what he's seeing because Trump's a Zionist, and ain't nobody knows how to run this better. This is the actual Zionist line, right? And running this comfort women operation is getting in the way of Zionists attacking China. You get it? So Trump has to attack this information op because it's in the way of him cooperating with both Korea and Japan to go after China, because there's a big fight going on between Zionists and Chinese Communist Party. I've mentioned this many times. It's going on in Argentina. It's going on in Panama. It's going on in many places, right? The Chinese and the Zionists are fighting. Most people can't see it because they don't study this stuff. You know, it's like you can't see a magnetic field, but you can definitely see the field if you know to spread some flakes around there and shake the paper, and there's the magnetic field lines, right? We see it because that's what we study. And it's very clear that the Chinese and the Zionists, and there are other oligarchical systems fighting as well, but those two are fighting it out. And the Chinese are running this information op. Chinese are running this information op, the Comfort Women information op, and the Nanjing information op, and it's getting in the way of this information op. It's getting in the way of this one, right? And it's getting in the way of the United States being able to check China. They're going to take Taiwan at this rate. Our Navy is not powerful enough to stop it. I mean, unless you're going to use nukes, in which case it's goodbye, everybody. And so we're just not, I mean, let's face reality. We're starting off war with Venezuela now, and we've bled ourselves out with Ukraine and all these different things. We've got a bunch of idiots who live in actually quadrant four. They're hurting us and they're hurting themselves. And thugs, which are just hurting us. But at some point, there's no way to hurt others and help yourself, because the hurt that you're doing to them is going to kill you. The hurt that you're doing to the people running your boat, you're basically robbing everybody who's running the boat and poisoning everybody who's running the boat, so that your enemies, China and the others, well, they're going to overrun people like me because you've killed us off with your death jabs. You've killed us off with your death jabs and economic war and whatnot. And it seemed like a good idea at the time, but the Z line is thugs and stupid people. And that's what's happening. Their information war, which has been running for generations, people are tired of it. It's not working anymore. Like, that doesn't work anymore. The worst thing you can do now is accuse somebody of anti-Semitism, especially those white Europeans like Maliakovsky, Netanyahu. He's a white guy, Polish dude, and he's talking about anti-Semitism. Nobody can make up this stuff. And but it works because people are like, you know, these are the droids you're looking for. And so I'm going to let Trump do his talk, and I'll be quiet, and then and that'll be that. Y'all have a good night. And remember, stay in quadrant one. Speaking of which, stay in quadrant one means please support my work and Masako's work. Please hit our Substack. It's free. You don't need to pay for it because this information is too important to put behind a paywall. But there are just a very few people that are actually supporting this. And just that's it. And I mean, there are, you know, it adds up, though. Please help. PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. You can photograph checks and email them to me at michael.yon@protonmail.com. And that message, that email address is at the bottom. You can actually photograph the front and the back of the check, write a check, photograph it, email it to me, and I can photograph the check and deposit it. It's very simple. It's easier than P.O. Box, actually. It's much easier. It's easier for you and for us. And so Venmo, Cash App, Gifts and Go, thank you very much. And PayPal, and you can wire transfer. Nobody ever sends Bitcoin, but you could if you wanted to. I mean, or precious metals. If you want to send precious metals, you could easily FedEx those insured or send them in some way, and I would take them. We'll take whatever we can get to operate. As you can see, these operations are expensive. Going to all these countries, going to Malaysia and Indonesia and Philippines and Thailand and Taiwan and China and so many. How many did I go to? Researching this. Philippines, did I say that? The United States, all over the United States, just on the comfort women issue. But it is absolutely vital. One thing, I don't know if I said, but the sister city of Panama City, Panama is Nanjing, China. Keep that in mind. That's going to be important later. Remember what I said. The sister city of Nanjing, China is Panama City, Panama. That's going to be very important later. You'll see why. Just a few closing remarks. You can see that's had an impact. It's had a very serious impact, strategic. The information war missiles, you might say, have hit. They've hit their targets successfully. Trump is trying to ameliorate that. And this next photo is one of a comfort women statue that I made near Atlanta. There's so many of these statues I've been to at Hong Kong and just different places, so many. That's Atlanta as well, near Atlanta. There's Masako in the background. We were going to an Antifa protest, actually, and shot off to see that. Again, that's the same one near Atlanta. That's just the same statue, one of my books, though. Yeah, this is such an important topic. Information war is the highest form of warfare, and they pour the intoxicants on people so that their brains are open to this sort of messaging. Very effective. The effects are life and death. All right, y'all have a good day. Thank you for supporting our work. Masako and I greatly. Oh, this is a woman. This is actually, she was one of the comfort women, alleged comfort women, although, yeah, this became very controversial with discrepancies in the stories and the timelines and whatnot. But they kept some of these comfort women almost like zoo animals, and they would roll them out. I mean, I say that they as the people operating the information war, and they kept them, and they would roll them out, and the press was always there. It was every Tuesday or every Thursday or something like that. I was at 3 of the protests because they were camped. The protesters were camped out by the They worshiped the statues basically, but then they would bring out these living women, and notice she's sitting like the statue with her hands clasped, her feet are in the same way, and it's pretty sick actually. Ultimately, the things that they've gone to do to just the information wars are intense. Masako and I would like to thank you for any donations that you make. We need them. We need them greatly, as you can imagine. This is extremely expensive work and quite risky. And we need your support so we can stay in Quadrant 1. Stay in Quadrant 1 with us. Y'all have a good night or day wherever you're at. I was just about to cut off, and I realized this is also comfort women statues in Hong Kong. And then this is in Glendale, California. I made all these photos and so many more. And this is Masako at Glendale, just beside the library. So if you go there in the evenings, you'll see a lot of Armenians out there, playing around soccer or whatever. It's pretty interesting, and you can talk with them about Armenia. And actually, the Armenians that I've spoken with there at the statue in Glendale, they always think that it's legit. They don't realize that this is an information operation. They don't realize that this is completely an information operation and not in their best interest. Oh, interesting. As I was closing, I just got a message from James O'Keefe inviting me to Mar-a-Lago for something, and I think I'll skip that one. Not exactly my ecosystem. I'm not sure why anybody would want me at Mar-a-Lago. In any case, y'all, I'm going to say it again, closing up again. Have a good night.